Hey guys, today I thought I'd do a short review of a couple cool old pocket pistols. These are the Little Tom, and they were made in Austria in the 1920s by the Wiener Waffenfabrik. The name is kind of interesting if you're wondering about it. Little Tom, it actually comes from the name of the inventor. His name was Alois Tomíška, and he was a Czech inventor, and his last name, Tomíška, is basically Thomas, Little Thomas in Czech. So that's where the interesting name comes from. But really, the reason I have these guns is for a couple other reasons. They're interesting for two aspects, I think. One is that these were actually the first double-action semi-autos available on the market. Before this, everything, if you think about it, every semi-auto before these was single-action only, or striker-fired. And the other reason that they're interesting, and I'll show you this in a minute, is the way the magazines work. And I uploaded a couple shooting videos, or I guess a shooting video of me shooting this one in 32 ACP a couple months ago, and it got a decent amount of interest, so I thought I would do a review about them. I also have one in 25 ACP. It's not completely complete. As you can see, it's missing grip screws, unfortunately, but I have original grips, and otherwise everything about it is functional and good, but I'm just missing the grip screws. So I have these are much more common in 25 ACP, but I also have the rarest unicorn of the Little Tom family, which is a good condition model in 32 ACP. You pretty much never ever see these, and this was actually the first one I'd ever seen for sale. And of course, after I bought it, I saw a couple others come up within a month or two, but these are extremely rare. So this is the star of the show, in my opinion, is the 32 ACP model. Before I get into the cool features like the way the magazines load and everything, I'll just talk about the basics first, like I always do. Weight on these is, this one is actually a very solid feeling gun. It's not overly heavy, it's about 22 ounces, but for the size, it's very dense and very solid feeling. First thing you think when you pick it up is, wow, this is a pretty well-made pistol. It feels like it's just one solid block of steel. So definitely some craftsmanship in this one. This one's a little bit lighter, it's about 12 ounces. So it's pretty much typical size and weight of an early 1900s 25 ACP semi-auto vest pocket pistol. You can see from the design too, which I think is cool. This trigger guard just has a neat look to it to help slip into your vest pocket and for concealed carry and things like that. So I think the gun definitely looks cool, at least in 25 ACP. 32 ACP isn't really as interesting or exotic looking, but like I said, it's much more rare, so that's the appeal to me. And as far as size goes, I pulled up my PPK to sort of do a comparison, because this was another old German, actually, pocket pistol from the era. This one's in 32, that one's in 32, so they're kind of comparable in that way. A lot of people have experience with this gun also. But and I also bring this out because the Walther PP was, the double action system was actually based on this design. And obviously the Walther PP was the one that took off and was successful, and this one was pretty much forgotten. But I just think it's interesting because this was really the first double action semi-auto on the market. This one came afterwards and just blew it away. So I'll talk about the ergonomics and controls also. They're pretty simple and not too exciting for the most part until I get down to the magazine in a minute. You've got a hammer fire mechanism here, obviously, and it's cocked. This is the safety. It's also the slide lock. If you pull this back and flip that up, it'll hold the slide open for you. And really there's nothing else to it. Got a double action trigger, but there's no way to decock it, so honestly the only way to ever take advantage of this double action pull is, I guess, if you have a dud round or if you manually lower the hammer. So you got to kind of do one of these numbers, which isn't exactly safe, but that's the only way you'll ever see the double action pull. Talked a little bit about the double action pull. Let's show you the magazines, because that's actually really the coolest part, I think. Watch this. There's the bottom of the magazine, but you'll see that there's no lip. There's no real way to get it out. The mag release is right here. It's just it's a heel release. So how do you get the magazine out? The way it's supposed to work is you have your second magazine, and you actually push it up through the bottom, which pushes the original magazine out the top of the gun like this. Not only does it come out the top, but it's also brass, which I think is really cool and kind of exotic looking. So both of the guns function like that, 25 ACP and the 32. So here's 25 again. Hold it open, and if I had another 25 magazine, I'd be able to just push it straight up through the bottom, and this comes out the top, pushing it out through the bottom. Now the magazines are really technically supposed to be loaded through the bottom, but I found it's easier to just actually drop it through the top, which is what I did in that video, and I think is kind of makes it stand out a little bit more even. You know, you're at the range and nobody ever has seen a brass magazine being dropped through the top of a gun before, so that's kind of cool. But that's the other cool feature of the gun, I think, is just the whole magazine system, the way it loads. Again, you can drop it through top here, and you're ready to go. So I think that's pretty cool. Shooting impressions. trigger on these is not good at all. It is a double action gun, so I will show you the single action pull here. It still has the full double action pull length, and there's actually some spring tension there. You can feel it's not just completely slack. Pull it back to here. This is where the wall is, and then a lot of creep and a lot of weight, and then it finally goes. A lot of over travel. Not a good trigger, but you know, state of the industry back then, they weren't really doing target triggers a lot, especially in the first double action pocket pistol. So trigger's bad. Sights are non-existent. Just a tiny little dot there, as you can see. So really the sight is completely useless. However, it does shoot decently enough. It's actually somewhat accurate. You know, you just kind of imagine where the sight is, and you can generally put your rounds on target at a reasonable distance. Gun hasn't been super reliable for me, but I'm not really too concerned about it because it's really more of a novelty than anything. But you know, it'll probably cycle about 4 or 5 rounds before it jams up. It's usually some sort of failure to extract. Very nice bluing job on it. Overall, like I said earlier, the gun is actually pretty high quality, and I think it's pretty well made. There's a view of the front. I'll show you the breakdown procedure real fast. I'll do it on the 25 just because it's already missing the grip, so you can kind of get an internal view already. So you have the gun like this, cocked open, and you just push the barrel straight back. Probably need to take the mag out first. Through the top. Wow. Push this back. Barrel just comes out. And just like that. Real nice and easy. You can see the insides there. 32 works the same way, of course. So not an overly complicated gun. You can take some of these plates off too to see the double action lock work, but I'm not going to do that. And then it goes back obviously in the reverse order. So let me show you that double action pull while I'm talking about it. So we pull this. Pretty heavy. Never know when it's going to break. I shouldn't do this a whole lot. You never know with these old firing pins if they'll break or not. And you can also see this protruding out here as you pull the trigger. So bad trigger on the first double action semi-auto, but you know, they didn't really perfect double action semi-autos for a long time, so not a huge knock against it. And as far as knocks against it go, I usually do some sort of criticism section, and I don't know, it's not really worth it on a gun like this. It's a novelty, it's a curio, it's interesting for several reasons, but not really for performance or anything like that. So I'm not going to really knock it about any shortcomings, the way it jams sometimes, bad trigger pull, things like that. So in conclusion, I know this was a short video, but there's just not a whole lot to say about it. I would say if you want to read a little bit more history, visit the Unblinking Eye. It's Ed Buffalo's fabulous resource for these sorts of old European pistols. He has a good article about the Little Tom in particular. Again, it's an Austrian gun. 32s are extremely scarce, very hard to find. I've been at this for a while, and I've only ever seen, I think, maybe 3 for sale. And of course, this was the first one that I've ever seen. And then, like, within a month, I saw the other 2 listed. It was kind of strange, but it's just how it goes sometimes. So 32s are extremely hard to find. The 25s are a little bit less so, but you still don't see them very often. As far as prices go, it's hard to say just because of the rarity and the scarcity. European pocket pistol collectors, which there are quite a few of them out there, probably pay maybe $500-600 for 25, and then $1,000 or more for the 32, just for the rarity of it to complete their 32 collection. 7.65. So there's that hammer, which when this came out in the 20s was actually pretty innovative, believe it or not, that you could pull the hammer like that, pull the trigger, and throw the hammer back like that, all in one pull. Semi-autos were all single action at the time. So that's the Little Tom. Not overly exciting in most ways nowadays. Again, the magazine is really the coolest part. Well, next time I'll show you that. Wish I had another 32 magazine, but this gun's hard enough to find and little in the magazines. So yeah, you just push it out, it comes out. So thanks for watching.